final win made us all believe the world took note with Brisbane's fall. The Robins superb, now we won it all. Red on me, let's hear you sing with all your might for your world champions in the red and white. We are okay, and we are the champions of the world. Champions of the world. This is the Robin Pod.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Robin Pod, which is down to the wire. And of course, don't forget we are powered by Budget Tyres Autocentre, the only car specialist trusted by the players, club officials, and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. We have got lots to get through on this week's Robin Pod. We've got the victory over Castleford to discuss. We've got, of course, that huge semi-final against Warrington. We've got Robins Revisited with Steve Till. Of course, we've got all your questions in question time. And we've also got the Man of Steel announcements to discuss. We've got the fact that Arthur Morg is potentially back for Sunday and is looking fit and raring to go. We'll discuss 1 week loan deals, plenty to get through. And to help me do that is Robin Pod regular Bazza Kingston. How are you doing, Bazza?
Good afternoon, Johno. Very well, thank you, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, really good, mate. Really looking forward to discussing all things Hull Kingston Rovers because on the back of yet another great victory, which has seen the Robins go through April unbeaten, we have now got another semi-final to look forward to on Sunday. We'll discuss that very soon, but let's look back at that Castleford victory on Thursday night, 50 points to 6, 34-0 at half-time. A dominant demolition of the Tigers.
Yeah, it really was. And I was going into that game, as much as I trust and back our boys, I felt like we was going into the unknown because we've seen that inconsistency with Castleford, getting twatted 1 week and then coming up with a great result the next week. So I was unsure what to expect, and PLT, familiar face, back on the field at Craven Park for Castleford, and with them signing Tyler Dupree, it was a little bit more of the unexpected, and I didn't know, which way the game was going to go, but you just knew right from the off we was going for it. It was great to see Carl Lawton get a brace of tries. It was a really, really good dominant display, and very reminiscent of 2025, where we just brutal. And I've seen a few comments saying Rovers haven't really beat anybody yet, but we put Saints to the sword. We put Saints to the sword at our place. So I think that's the ruthlessness of Hull Kingston Rovers, and I don't feel like we really, really are coming good, and you can see the synergy with the players. And I tell you what, John, I was calling for it a few weeks back on the pod about Tom Davis, the amount of graft that boy gets through, and he does get through some graft. We're just begging for him to get a try, and, he got his hat-trick, so I was massively over the moon for Tom Davis. But I won't lie to you, mate, I walked out the stadium feeling a little depleted, because that last try, because we'd been so good and so dominant throughout. I could imagine Willie wouldn't have been happy with it. Don't get me wrong, it was a decent try, but I was gutted. It took a bit of gloss off that victory, although it was a very, very good victory. I was just a little bit disappointed with that last try. Maybe it's because I felt like we was getting back into the groove with the boys getting free breakfast, but now, as far as I'm concerned, mate, overall, it was a great result, and we're climbing the table. And most importantly, that points difference has took a massive swing now, especially after Vegas, where we was down at the bottom, and our points difference was shocking. But we've had this run of games now, and we've really sorted out that points difference. And I think we're back up to third now. So but that's it. I genuinely believe now our season's started and we are in full swing, and we will be going for absolutely everything.
Yeah, I mean, there was two victories for me, Bazza, that allowed me not to really panic too much about the Robins and keep full faith in them. That was, of course, the World Cup Challenge victory over Brisbane, and then that that demolition of the top side, St Helens, to put that many points past them. Don't get me wrong, they had injuries at that moment in time, but the way that they went about the business and rose to the occasion when they needed to, that's what makes me think this Rovers side, there's still plenty more to come. But I never lost faith in thinking that February, the defeats to York and Leeds were anything more than a blip.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And again, I think it will get discussed throughout the year about our poor start to the year. But again, many people have said it's been the toughest start for any Super League team in the Super League era. So that little bit of inconsistency at the start of the year, it is forgivable. It was a bit gutting with what happened in Vegas, but I think overall, mate, as the season's going, you've got to give it an 8 out of 10 so far because we beat the champions and we've got that next game mentality. We're just going after everything, and we can really see that now. We've got no distractions. We're back into a routine and we're back into our groove. And we're going for absolutely everything, mate. And again, like I say, long may it continue. We won the game that really, really mattered in Brisbane. And I can pretty much see that that's what's going to happen this weekend against Warrington, which we'll come on to later, because that for me is just as big a game as playing Brisbane, because it has that much importance about it. And I don't think we will be going after the game, and we'll be taking that game very, very seriously.
Yeah, we saw 9 tries running against Castleford. We saw Kyle Lawton come with 2 tries. Was you surprised to see him start?
I was. I won't lie to you, I was. It was out the following week. I don't know if he had injury. I think he might have missed a couple of weeks. When I'd seen Bill Leyland had gone back to Saints, that my first thought was Jez is playing Jez for 80 minutes. So to see Carl starting left me scratching my head a little bit, but then it was a case of either going through 2025 process with Carl Lawton roughing up the opposition for the first 20-25 minutes, and then letting Jez be more effective for the rest of the game. And I think that's what happened. And I do genuinely believe it really, really worked, and we did really benefit from it. And that's why Willie Peters is the kind of coach he is, because he's not scared to mix things up and, do something different. And I do genuinely feel like we saw something, what could be a bit of a plan going forward for the rest of the year in maybe starting Carl and spelling Jez, sorry.
Leslie.
And no, I was surprised, but I think it worked. I liked it. I think Carl took his 2 tries really, really well. I don't think he dropped off any tackles, and it was a bit of a change. And to be honest with you, mate, the way Castleford played, I don't think Castleford expected it as well.
No, and not only did he lay down a real firm platform for the Robins to go on for the rest of the match in terms of the the solidity put into the middle, his work rate, but the 2 tries put us in a great position, ready for Jez to come on and start dancing around. And I think you're right. That's maybe a view too, potentially, Bazza, the semi-final. I'm looking at that going back to what worked for us well in big games last season, that Mickey McAlorum, Jez Litton partnership, where he laid the foundation. And I dare say that Kyle Lawton, of course, is not Mickey McAlorum, but what he's got a bit more energy, I think. I think he's got a bit more of an engine in there. And I think we saw from them 2 dynamic tries that he scored against Castleford. He ain't afraid to take the line on either, is he? So it's a great option we've got now, because we haven't seen it previously so far in 2026. And it does, like I said, just make it, look towards Warrington. What is Willie Peters going to want to do? He's going to want to lay down a real strong platform, ready to go on for the rest of the game. So I'd be very surprised if it changes and Jez Litton starts now. But like you said, Bazza, Willie Peters isn't afraid to try things differently. Nobody would have expected Kyle Lawton to be starting. I'd be very surprised based on the last couple of games, and then to see him there and take that role on. I think that's where we'll be looking at in Doncaster. You know, Carl Lawton starting and Jez Litton coming on and playing the rest of the game. And don't forget as well, Bazza, with Carl Lawton's versatility, we saw Minchella come off at the back end and Lawton then slot in there, didn't we? So that versatility is so important for the Robins right now.
Yeah, it really is. And that's that utility value that Carl offers us, which at times is so invaluable. I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful, and please don't think I am, because he's an absolute legend of OKR. But did anyone notice Dean Hadley missing in the second half? Because that's what I mean. As good as Dean is and as solid as he is in that middle role, you know, when they're off the field, sometimes it's not to say they're a poor player, but it's replacements and the rotation of the changes. It's not noticed because the level of performance is still there, and that's what we're striving for. And Carl Lawton, again, he can play second row. I mean, he can even jump into centre if need be. Is that versatile? So it's took a little while for Carl to settle in, but Carl now, I think he really is finding his feet in and amongst Super League and our team. So if he carries on improving the way he is, it's only going to be beneficial, not only for us, but for Jez Litton as well, and even Elliot Minchella, the way like the three of them are rotating. So yeah, mate, it's very good. It was very unexpected, but it was quite refreshing to see, mate. I loved it.
Yeah, and you mentioned Dean Hadley there going off, and for a rest, for a want of a better phrase, we've seen Elliot Minchella talk openly about how his role's changed and how he wants to be able to be at his best for 60 minutes rather than 7 out of 10 for 80, you know, because of the impact the game's having on him. And I think these changes, these rotations, whether it's players not even featuring in the squad or whether it's being rotated during the game, is done with a blessing of the players. And I think Willie Peters probably had some really honest conversations with these players to say, look, boys, if you want to be at your best when we need you most effective during the 80 minutes of the game, there's going to be times where you're not going to be picked. You're going to be taken off, even if you don't want to. But I think they've probably got a great understanding of why that is happening. And it's all with a view, isn't it, to making sure that we're strong at the strongest parts of the game, but the strongest parts of the season, which is normally at the back end. Yeah,
it is. And that's one thing about Willie. When you listen to the players' interviews, they always say about the tough, honest conversations they have with the coaches in the coaching staff, Willie Peters and whatnot. And everyone knows the role and what's involved. And, you know, they're under no illusion. It's a long old season and it's a team game. You know, one week we'll see Reece Martin starting in that back row. Another week we'll see him on the bench. And it's all about rotation and keeping the boys fresh. I mean, we tried some the other week where the boys all went off on their holidays for an extended weekend away. So it's about trying something new and thinking about the longevity of the season, and that's what's more important right now, is keeping your bodies fresh. Don't burn your players out, because so far our injuries throughout the season, yeah, we have had bodies out, especially Arthur Morg. I think we've been all right, and that's down to the strength and conditioning and the coaching staff, the way we look after the players and the way we rotate players, and we don't take risks. Where if somebody feels their hamstring tightening up, they're getting up, they're not being forced to try and play on. We're rotating quite well, and again, we will bear the fruits of that later on in the year.
Yeah, and that first half, Bazza, 34 points nil at half time, for me was as near as perfect as you're probably going to get, wasn't it? I mean, I tried comparing it to the first half against Bradford. Obviously, you know, was it the same? Of course, I don't think it was. I think they went back and looked at some of the things that they weren't happy with against Bradford, and we saw a definite response in that first half against Castleford. And we'll talk about Castleford a little bit at the end, but I mean, they what they served up for their supporters was abysmal. Don't get me wrong, there's mitigating circumstances as to why a performance like that may be produced. But at the same point, this Castleford side, season upon season, are not getting better. And if anything, they seem to be getting worse. And it doesn't matter what coach they've got in place, what playing group they've got, they're just serving up utter dross. And I have very little sympathy for Castleford at the moment. I just, you know, I have sympathy for the supporters, but you know, I just think, I feel like it's Groundhog Day with them. And I just cannot get my head round how they bloody beat Wigan.
No, it was Wigan really that bad, or was Castleford really that good that day? Even Rovers in the early years of Sub League was never putting out performances like that, and it is tough for the fans to see. And credit to the guys who turned up at Craven Park on Thursday night, but there's only so much the coach can do. The coach can't control a player knocking on in the in-goal area. A coach can't control the no hooker at dummy half for the play of the ball in their own 20. It's silly errors that's costing Castleford. Where it's come from, I don't know. It's not our problem, but I think that's arguably the worst Castleford side we've seen. Well, as an old Kingston Rovers fan in the Super League era, it's really poor. And I feel like the panic buying at the minute, and I believe anybody who was set to join there for next year must be thinking twice right now.
Yeah. I mean, we then go into the second half, don't we? And as much as the first half was dominant, it was almost, roles repeated, wasn't it, in that second half? Of course, the only blot on the copybook is what you mentioned. It was that try right at the end. And that is a great lesson to the players, isn't it, about never switching off. Don't get me wrong, Castleford did well to score that try, but it's about being switched on for that 80 minutes. And as daft as it sounds, I suppose when you're 50-0 up, you've got that luxury a little bit, haven't you? That said, Willie Peters won't be accepting that as an excuse. He will be drilling into them boys, won't he? No matter what the scoreline is, you do not concede tries in that manner. It's whatever minute of the game.
Yeah, you're right. And don't get me wrong, it was a very good try by Mapapalangi, if that's how you pronounce it. I don't know if you watched the pre-match press conferences, but a lot of the journos was asking Willie Peters about Mapapalangi because he's got history with him and how good he is. And Willie Peters just said, well, he's got an Andy centre in front of him in Peterico. And we saw that, throughout the game. I don't think Mapapalangi did out for all that game until that try at the end. So it was very much owned throughout that game. As for that try, it was a soft try. It was a good try. Don't get me wrong. It was a good try, but I think after we was being so dominant in that game, I don't think Castleford deserved that try, which kind of is gutting from an Old Kingston Rovers point of view. But again, it's something for the boys to look at and fix up and work on going into the semi-final with Warrington, because if we make a mistake like that, Warrington are that good, they will punish us for it. So as far as I'm concerned, all it's done is brought lessons to be learned and going forward. So they miss out on the breakfast at Nibbles. Crack on to Warrington. But in that second half, mate, it can be forgiven because the amount of changes we did make, rotating that squad. I seen Jai doing pretty decent minutes, 1 minute in the prop, 1 minute in the back row. So, I think Jai Whitbread running at hooker at one point, unless my eyes was tricking me. It looked like he was playing hooker at one point. It did Jai Whitbread. But yeah, a lot of changes in that second half, and obviously one eye on this week, and we had a really, really good long layoff. So yeah, it is what it is, mate. They scored a try, a decent try, but shit happens.
And I'll tell you what, it wouldn't be a Rovers game, would it, without some acrobatic finishes? We saw Tom Davies come up with a couple, and then, of course, we saw Joe Burgess with another one. It's almost like he don't want to score on the pitch, does it? He wants to make sure that he's as far off it, but he manages to reach out. He's got that wiry frame, which helps him so much, and he seems to have that longer reach, which he's able to then expose defenders with. And, like we said, it was great to see Tom Davies get the hat-trick. It's a little... Willie Peters have had a little bit of a joke, haven't they, about the fact he's gone so long without scoring a try. Not only did he come back with a try, he came back with 1, 2, 3, a hat-trick. And you could see that third try. He wanted it so much, didn't he? When he was sprinting into that corner, he definitely had an eye for the try line. And it was just, one of them evenings where it was just great to see Rovers in full flight in terms of attack. They looked astute and controlled in defence. on the back of beating Bradford and with the Warrington game up next, and with a bit of a extended rest period as well, Thursday into Sunday, has meant that the players have been probably afforded another few days off before they come back into training. So it's a great place, I suppose. Before we move on to the Warrington game, it's about probably not getting too complacent, because we will mention more about it after we speak, after we hear from Steve Tilling. Robin's revisited. Complacency setting in is real dangerous, isn't it? And I've got no doubt it won't, but we can understand why people may think it will, with the results that have occurred in April, the run that we've been on, the breaks that the players have been able to enjoy. But we've been here before in these knockout games, so Willie Peters got tried and trusted methods, and as much as that complacency may set in, I can't see it. I don't think.
No, I can't. I think we can't afford no complacency with what happened at the start of the year. We can't afford to be switched off at any point in the game on Sunday. I think Willie Peters will just have to go back and show them that York game. This is what happens when you get complacent, you get bit. And I think lessons will have been learned. Like I said, go on. Sorry, John.
No, go on, Baz. You go
on. For me, I feel like they've got that hunger back. They've got over the bit of turmoil they had at the start of the year, and you can see that hunger is back, and they've got a fire in the belly. You can see it. It's hard to describe as a KR fan the way they're playing right now, because they're just starting to show glimpses of 2025, and you can see they want it, and most importantly, you can see they're enjoying the rugby. Everybody who takes to that field, they're playing rugby with a smile on their face, they're enjoying themselves. I mean, Peter we haven't stopped smiling over these last few weeks, even when he's scoring tries, when he ain't scoring tries. So I think they're back to enjoying the game again and enjoying each other's company, and really, really going for it.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing that that game did confirm for me is that I agreed with James Perlin, who was on the Robin Pod last week, that we dodged a bullet with Tyler Dupree. I thought he offered very little. And then Phoenix Blue Light High confirmed to me that he's not a Super League player. We come up with two big errors at really key times in the game, and just, as much as he might have the heart, for me, he's not a Super League player. And them mistakes that he came up with were killers as well. Daniel McIntosh, another really stupid mistake, and that's where Castleford was so poor. But it was a performance from them where I've gone, we aren't missing them.
Yeah, no, you're right. And as for PLT, the guys showed promise, and I don't want to be seen to bag on players or ex-players, but I think it was 2022. No, I think it might have been 2023. I could never see him having a future with Low Kingston Rovers, and I always felt like he was probably a championship standard player at best. And we saw that at Oldham, he was absolutely ripping it up at Oldham. So is it just a case of for PLT? Maybe he's slightly too good for the championship, but not quite there yet with Super League. I don't know. Obviously, he's going to get his chance at Castleford. I hope he does come good, because he's an ex-Robin, he's a great lad. But yeah, some of the errors, and Daniel McIntosh, he's been around a few clubs recently, but again, it was poor. It was poor from a Castleford Tigers point of view, but again, we capitalised on it. One thing I did notice this week was the amount of LFC and Warrington fans all screaming for Mikey to be banned for that accidental kick to the head. And
it wasn't even an instant for me. It wasn't even
it did not even need to be put on report, and we have all the rugby league experts saying that, he's on this point, it should be that, and mate, first thing Mikey did was drop on the play to make sure it was all right. That was his first concern, because it was a genuine accident. There was no failed HIA, I don't believe, and I wasn't even worried. But it's been interesting this week. The certain people screaming out for Mikey to be banned for the semi-final. But hey,
yeah, much ado about nothing. And all you have to do is put Mikey Lewis's name into it, and then all of a sudden, it's crazy. But to be fair, and before we move on very briefly, Mikey Lewis, it was one of them games where he's been a bit quiet here, but actually when you see his contributions, and I think that's where he's playing at such a level now, along with like Tyrone May. And we're going to mention the Man of Steel announcement. They're just going about their business just so well, so effortless, and that's where it's a real pleasure to see, and that's why it frustrates me when he gets dragged into all this nonsense about kicking someone there. It was never an incident. It was just nothing.
No, you're absolutely right, Johno. And I think what you're seeing right now is because one person might be talking about Mikey having a great game, another one about Tyrone. I think collective as a team, people are struggling to stand out because collectively we are playing that good as a team. We may have a week where Tyrone May really does stand out, but I just think they're on par, mate. And as a collective, they're all doing really, really well right now.
Yeah, the Robins retain the Roger Millward Trophy once again. Before we talk about Warrington Wolves and that semi-final in Doncaster, let's go visit Steve Till.
Hi Chris, and we're going back 17 years this week, 17 years ago, to Murrayfield, which is where Rovers took on Warrington in the last game of a sensational weekend of rugby league. And this was a real thriller. It was a personal triumph for man of the match Benny Galea. The non-stop back row was pivotal in putting Sean Briscoe over to score Rovers' first try, but that was after the Wolves had taken the lead through winger Hicks, who crossed in the corner to open the scoring. Rovers then hit a weak patch, and they allowed 2 tries from both Monaghan and Vinnie Anderson, who crossed to make it 16-6 to the Wolves. However, just before half-time, Galea put through a superb pass for Michael Dobson to catch and crash over, and it became 16-12 at half-time. So they went in for the break, as I say, with Rovers 16-12 down. But the Robins soon drew level when Mick Vella took advantage of another defence-splitting pass. Yes, you've guessed it, from Benny Galea. And Rovers never trailed again. Clinton Newton looked to have put the game beyond Warrington, but Hicks crossed again to keep the Lancashire or Cheshire side in it. But Galea then got added to the list of Rovers scorers as he weaved his way past 3 would-be tacklers to touchdown and restore Rovers' 8-point lead. But Warrington again refused to lie down. Monaghan charged at the defence and sent Anderson over to reduce the deficit to 2 points with 5 minutes remaining. And Rovers fans were on tenterhooks to see whether they could last. But any thoughts of a remarkable comeback were extinguished by Galea, who crossed for his second try in the final seconds to bring down the curtain on a spectacular weekend's action at Murrayfield, with Rovers winning 36 points to 28. Justin Morgan wasn't very happy with Rovers' defence in this game and gave them a bit of a drubbing to the press afterwards. But things turned out right for the Robins. It was a spectacular game for the fans, and those that stayed till late on the Sunday watching Rovers and Warrington got their full money's worth. So let's hope we have a similar game this coming weekend in the Cup tie, with Rovers coming out on top once again.
Bazza, before we talk about the Warrington semi-final, it was announced yesterday that the Man of Steel first contenders would be announced. They had a short list of 10. It then got narrowed down to 5 with the panel deciding on their top 5. Obviously, this season it's changed, hasn't it? It's not on points. It's based on basically stats and the opinions of the panel. What was interesting is that Lucky Miller, he's leading the Man of Steel rankings at the moment, but closely followed by Jez Litton and Tyrone May. Leeds, Brodie Crofty makes 4th, and then Darryl Clark of St Helens 5th. What do you make to that?
I think, my opinion, it's a fair reflection because I think Leeds are playing so well due to Lockie Miller because he's been sensational for him out the back. It's easy to talk about Micah Steve or Jake Connor, but they can only play their game down to how Lockie Miller plays. I was expecting Tyrone May and Jez Litton to be in there because there's been a lot of noise about Tyrone May over the last month, 6 weeks. Jez Litton, for me, is the best 9 in the comp, closely followed by Danny Walker. So I was more surprised not to see Danny Walker in there. But for me, I think it is a fair reflection of the Man of Steel contenders for what each individual player brings to their respective sides. It's a shame that there's no forwards in there because some of the forwards get through some proper graft. I mean, from an OKR perspective, the amount of graft Jesse Sue and Tom Amon gets through every week. I know Jesse wasn't playing last week. Is they lay them platforms for the outside backs to play their game. So I am a bit disappointed not to see no forwards in there. But for me, I'm very comfortable, especially with Tyrone May and Jez in there because Jez has been absolutely sensational for us, and I think Jez is going to get better throughout the year if Willie Peters goes down the road with the tactics of like he did last year, potentially starting Carl Lawton and having Jez off the bench. So yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm more happy for Tyrone if that makes sense because he has been an unsung hero for all Kingston Rovers. So is a quality player, and what he brings to our side, mate, it's invaluable at times.
Yeah, he's certainly out there as one of the standout players, as is in Tyrone May. You'd imagine Mikey Lewis would have probably made the top 10. Obviously, they hadn't announced the other 5, I don't think, who were put forward. So, hey, look, these are players who are doing great things for the Robins at the moment. It's great to see them there after, a third of the season. But what's interesting, Bazza, is don't forget as well, Tyrone May, Jez Litton have played a game less as well. So they've not had the, obviously, same amount of games. And to see them featuring so highly, I mean, maybe that one game doesn't necessarily make such a difference. But, they are a game less. And, of course, another side who are a game less, so Warrington will take them on in the semi-finals on Sunday. Before we discuss that, though, there's been a bit of talk about the 1-week loan system, haven't they? Of course, St Helens have been the beneficiary of that by bringing in Bill Leyland so that they could allegedly rest Darryl Clark ready for the semi-final, Challenge Cup semi-final against Wigan on Saturday. I think Paul Cook and Carl Amor, they spoke about it on their podcast, and Carl Amor definitely wasn't in favour of it. Obviously, there was a scenario posed where are the Robins strengthening one of their main rivals at the moment as well, by lending and loaning these players out to a side like St Helens, opposed to loaning them out to a Castleford or a York or a... where do you stand on it?
I'm in favour of it if it's keeping the players sharp and if it's used for the right reasons. Me personally, I think I preferred it when it was a 2 or 3 week loan and there was no recall on the player. But I can see why they're doing it. It does look like it's from a tactical point of view. We're lending players to St Helens to effectively beat their nearest and dearest in Wigan, and we saw that on Good Friday. Will we see that on Saturday? Bill might have had a part to play because Daz is going to going to be fresh for Saints on Saturday. To be honest with you, mate, I think it makes our game look amateur doing these 1 week loans.
And it probably shows you the reason these 1 week loans are coming in, or we're starting to see more of them, is because the player pool is so small. And it's easy to suggest sometimes, just throw in, as sure there's an academy player who can feature, but these players need to be protected as well. It's not as easy as just rocking up, if they've had no first team game experience before, or they might not be deemed to be good enough. So if you've got the option to bring someone in from another side who's pretty much who would be a first team player in pretty much, I don't know, 2/3 of Super League sides, it's you can understand why St Helens have done it, and they haven't broke the rules. Let's be honest, the rules are there to be used, aren't they? And normally, I think our point of view is, it's fine if it's a Bradford or it's a York or it's a Toulouse who are bringing these one. But no, if it's a top side can't be doing it. But that's what I mean. I think it just shows you where the player pool's just not there, is it?
No, it's not, and I dare say I think there will be changes made to this 1 week rule in the 2027 season. But again, for me, it keeps Bill sharp. I'd sooner Bill be out on loan at St Helens than Bradford or someone like that, because it's a good environment with the best facilities. So it's only going to benefit our player. But as a whole, for the 1 week rule, I'm not a fan if I'm brutally honest.
Yeah, and also, I mean, where you look at you mentioned strength and conditioning previously. Where our squad is we're able to do this because the strength of the squad. Look at Leeds Rhinos. They've been very, very good this season so far with injuries, to the point where I think they had 5, 6, 7 players out on loan last week. So one of them featuring against Rovers for Castleford, of course. So look, the ones who are strongest benefit from it, because I'm like you. If Bill Leyland's fit, he's not going to play. What's he better off doing? Sat on his arse in the stands or going and playing Super League rugby? So it benefits everyone. I couldn't understand why some Rover supporters or supporters of other teams would go, why would you want to benefit your rival? He's helped them potentially get 2 more points or whatever it is. That might come and bite you at the back end of the season. But at the same point, he might have took the 2 points off Wigan, which stopped them getting the league leader shield, or so there's lots of ways you can look at it. But I think ultimately, the reason that there's so many loan deals at the moment is because people are just scrapping around to get players, not to better the squad, to put a team out. And this is where the St Helens situation is probably a little bit more unique, because I bet if pushed, I bet Darryl Clark could have played. I reckon he could have done, without knowing any inside info on injuries. But it just seems a bit suspicious at that time.
Well, I think Paul Rowley was brutally honest to come out and said he just wanted to give Daz Clark a rest the minutes he's done this year. So I think Rowley would come out and he was very honest and said the loan deal was basically to give Daz Clark a rest to try and probably give Saints the upper hand against Wigan the following week. So, it was transparent and honest about it. And I think it's that sort of scenario what makes our comp look a little bit amateur at times, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and we'll follow that on with feeder teams and suggestions that Super League sides should align themselves with Championship sides for them pretty much to become a breeding ground or a opportunity for the parent club, inverted commas, to grow players. So basically, you're creating a competition below Super League, which is for the benefit of Super League. We've seen a number of Championship sides struggling over the last few years, haven't we? Look at Featherstone, look at what happened to Halifax. You only have to now look at North Wales Crusaders. For me, the Championship, as much as the teams in there may want to consider themselves to be professional, barring what London and, well, you pretty much got London, and then that's it. The rest are pretty much operating on a semi-pro basis. So I can understand where the suggestions come from. That said, Bazza, you're talking about discarding rugby league heritage, a game that's been around for such a long time. You're talking about potentially clubs losing their identity because they're going to be more aligned to the team who's they're linked in with. So it's an interesting one. But as the NRL talks, increase, and as that deal hopefully gets closer, that is potentially one way how the game might be going. And I don't know whether I'm in favour of it or whether I'm not, but there's got to be an understanding at the moment. Rugby league in this country cannot sustain a championship like it is at the moment.
There is. I'm all for it. The championship is dying. We're seeing teams folding. Salford had to come back from nothing. We lost, I think it was the Crusaders. Halifax went, but then managed to come back. We've lost Featherstone. So if these teams have the option to, should we say, buddy up with a Super League side, if there's an investment incentive for that club to survive, I think the fans would sooner have their club survive and have somewhere to go on a weekend to watch their team than end up like Featherstone. So for me, I'm in favour of it. The only thing I believe it genuinely will affect is these part-time players, that there'll be less of them because they're going to have technically Super League reserve. And for example, let's say LKR buddy up with Gull. It's 25 minutes up the road. So I think something like that would work incredibly well.
There's no way we'd be buddying up with Goal. If we're going to buddy up with like a lower league team or a lesser team, you might as well just look across the river and we'll send some players that way.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. I do know what you're saying. Well, you never know, mate, if they get relegated. That might happen. But, but if that was to happen and, we're helping a new team out in goal and, some of our academy players are getting to play regular first team rugby at a decent level, then it's going to be good for the town of Goal. It's going to be good for OKR. And who knows, mate, for example, if we're playing Toulouse, Catalan or London at our place, it's never going to be a sellout because the away fans don't sell out. It could be a marketing opportunity to offer Goal fans free tickets to get them through our gates to come and watch Hull Kingston Rovers and grow our fan base. So from that perspective, it might increase our gates. Not that they do need increasing, but it just gets a few more bums on the seats when it's a quiet week against a London or a French side. So there is a marketing opportunity there, and from a revenue point of view, mate, that something needs to happen in the championship. I don't believe if Super League teams do pair up with championship clubs, so long as it doesn't block a pathway for that championship club to ever have aspirations of playing Super League, I think it could work very, very well.
Yeah, watch this space on that one. Okay, Sunday, Challenge Cup semi-final. It's Willie Peters' 7th semi-final since taking charge of the Robins. Of course, we took on Warrington last year in the Challenge Cup final. Of course, we then went on to victory, lifting that trophy for the first time in a very, very long time. There's no doubt they'll be looking for revenge. They're currently fair in Super League on 14 points. Rovers are just behind them on 4. In fourth, on 12 points. The two teams have got an almost identical points difference. Warrington look much better this year than they did last year. Of course, they've got some injuries which may affect them, but I'm really looking forward to this tie, Bazza. I'm looking forward to seeing the Robins play knockout rugby once again, and I'm looking forward to seeing them take on this Wire side in Doncaster because I think it's got the opportunity to be a really good game. That said, I couldn't care less what the game's like. For me, just get that W and get us to Wembley again. Yeah,
I can't wait for it as well, Johno. We've got pretty decent history against Warrington in our Super League era in knockout football, mate. So I can't wait. Bloody hell, we got promoted to Super League in their backyard against Widnes. Even when we was in the Championship, when we knocked them out of the Challenge Cup, and more recently, 2021, we knocked them out the playoffs by nilling them at home, mate. So we have got good history playing Warrington in knockout football, more noticeably last year. I can't wait for it. You can't split the teams on paper. The only thing, as daft as it sounds, I'm worried about is Kalepi Tanganoa coming back to warn us, because we know what qualities Kalepi holds. I think it's going to be a great afternoon. I wouldn't mind another budgie moment with the El Pinocchio. That'd make my afternoon. I think it's going to be a great game. A lot of people saying OKR are favourites. I'm not buying that. I think in 2026, mate, if you look at both teams, both the stats, there's absolutely nothing between them in terms of points for even player stats. The only difference between the two sides this year is that we've had a torrid start to the year with what we went through, but take that aside, there's nothing between these two sides. And I think what's more interesting is, take Vegas out the equation, Willie Peters has won at every ground he's coached at in England, barring one, and that's the Eco Power Stadium on Sunday, because we've only played there once and we didn't do very well against Wigan in 2024. So I think Willie Peters will want to put that right. So yeah, I do fancy us, and I don't think it's going to be a whitewash, mate, but I think we've got more than enough. I think at our very, very best, I don't think Warrington beat us. But if we have any lapse in concentration, Warrington are the sort of side who will find us out, and they will go for it. So we need to be on our A game. And if we're on our A game, as far as I'm concerned, Warrington aren't beating us.
Yeah, I mean, they've got injuries. George William, he's going to be a huge loss for them. They've lost James Harrison. Luke Yates, Josh Fulis, there's question marks over whether they're going to be back on Sunday. Kai Taylor-Ray, the young lad who's been doing so well for them, he's not going to be playing. Danny Walker's been one of the standout hookers. And of course, don't forget, they have got Mark Sneed, who, for whatever reason, he just manages to show up on the big occasions. Of course, he's a Lance Todd Trophy winner, the current Lance Todd Trophy winner. That said, as good as Wire are, I do think this is very much about the Robins and making sure that we don't see a repeat of our last visit to the Eco Power Stadium. I don't think we will, because I think this is a very focused side. I think the players who have been rested who will be coming back. I mean, I expect Salso Sul to come back into the lineup. He's going to be huge, isn't he? We've seen what a wrecking ball, the work rate he gets through. I think he's going to be absolutely fantastic. We've now got that Carl Lawton, Jez Litton dynamic, which we think we're going to see. The big question, though, and this is what I was posed over on Facebook, and this is what I'm going to pose you, Bazza. Should Artemog replace Jack Broadbent at full-back against Warrington if fit? Because, of course, Willie Peters said that he expects him to be 100% ready for the league game, but he did just dangle it in there that the Warrington game may be an option based on how he comes through training. Now, some of the comments on Facebook, we had David Johnson. He said, if Arthur is 100% fit, he goes straight back in for me, but he has to be 100% fit. Harsh on Jack, but there's a reason. Arthur is the number one share. Mark Spite says, Jack knows that Arthur is first choice. However, coming straight into semi-final after a long layoff could be too risky. Stick with Jack. Arthur is 18th man, as that takes full part in pre-match prep. John Parker, stick to Jack at the back. Kev Verity, bloody hard one. That Morg is a faster fullback with better feet, but is he 100%? Jack gives you 100% effort and is a very accomplished fullback and is in great form. For me, it's Jack. Colin Baker, this is up to Willie Peters and his coaching staff. Nobody else in Willie Peters we trust at the Robins. Can always have Adam Morg as interchange. I'd play JB as he's done so well. So many very mixed opinions. Bazza, you said for me that no, there's so much at stake in this game, and he's come back after such a long layoff would be a big ask. Jack has been superb for us in recent weeks, and let's not forget that Jack Broadbent played fullback in our history, making final last year and did us proud. Still stand by that?
Absolutely. I think that question, what you've asked, me personally, I don't think there's no right answer, no wrong answer. If the worst was to happen, and Warrington did the unthinkable against Hull Kingston Rovers on Sunday with Broadbent at full back, we're going to get people saying Morg should have played, it'd have been the difference. Or if we get beat by Warrington on Sunday and Morg was playing, Broadbent should have been at the back. So that's just how fans operate and work. So for me, there's no right and there's no wrong answer. There's validation in what a lot of people say. But in my humble opinion, I think Jack's found his form over recent weeks, and there's been talks of him for England as a utility player. He's been that good for Old Kingston Rovers. I think right now it is very undroppable, and the magnitude of this game, after Art has had such a long layoff, I think it'd be a massive ask, even for the biggest professionals. I think for me, Arta needs to have a week down in the reserve grade just to get some minutes in his legs, just to get a bit more match sharp, because we see it when the boys come back after pre-season. That first game of the season, none of the boys are 100% because they haven't been playing throughout the winter. So I think for me, Jack should stay at full back. And if Arta Morg is fit for the league game, then obviously make the call then. But I don't understand why I'd want to change a winning formula right now. That's just my opinion.
For me, it's very simple, Bazza. If Arta Morg is not 100% fit, he's not even in consideration. That said, there's great value including him in the 21-man squad to ramp up his involvement around the first team in the matchday preparations and stuff like that. So I expect that's what we're going to see. Whether it's all smoke and mirrors, who knows? Arta Morg might be ready and we're just playing it down. But it is a massive call to make. That said, Arta Morg for me is a big game player. I think it'd be hugely harsh on Jack Broadbent. But as we've mentioned on the Robin pod before, haven't we, Bazza? It's very clear that Willie Peters knows his strongest 13, and at every available opportunity in the big games when it really matters, that's what he leans on. That's where he goes to. So I don't know. We don't know, do we? We don't know. But on the face of it, for me, Jack Broadbent retains his place. And Arta Morg, we see him against Lee because he's still got, Lee picking up with, there's plenty of big games to come. Unless Arta Morg is 100% fit. And then for me, if he is 100% fit, I could see why you may go straight into that side. But you think of the combinations that them players have got. 12 weeks is a long time, isn't it? Broadbent's really fitted into there, and some of the tries that he scored on the back of his link-up play with Mikey Lewis and Tyrone May. We've seen him defensively, his positioning get a lot better. It'd be really harsh to take him out of that now after he's done so well. So hey, let's see. But it's going to be a humdinger of a game, Bazza. Trying to predict a scoreline is so hard, isn't it? We've seen the Robins absolutely rampant in April. Wire, they picked up some big results. It's going to be two teams who are going really at it. And as much as it pains me to say it, Steve McBanana has no doubt solidified them in defence. They look a bit of a different side. They've got a few more young lads from Warrington in there who will come through the academy. They don't seem to have the players who, over the past few years, have caused them problems. So it is a different beast. That said, Rovers in knockout rugby, we've looked good over the last few years, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. And yeah, Steve McNamara or McBanana has completely transformed that side. What I did find interesting is in the week building up to a Challenge Cup semi-final, McNamara was at the MKM watching them lot getting pumped on Sunday by Tullow. So you've got to ask the question of how committed is he to Warrington? It's knockout rugby weekend coming up, and you'd think he'd want to be amongst Warrington, not at his future employers. I don't think we'll do it. I don't think it'll be easy, and I think it'll come late on. But I think if I was going to predict it, as daft as it's, I think I'm going to go something like 19-6.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough. It is, yeah. Bazza, it's going to be really tough. And what we have supporters, the job we've got to do, bear in mind, it's going to be two fares full of Hull KR supporters. I think there's going to be, 8,000 supporters there compared to Warrington's measly following. I'm sick of hearing the argument about how far Warrington is away to Doncaster. I think it's, 30 miles more than what Hull to Doncaster is. So, look, if you want to be there to support your team, bear in mind they've got a record sellout on their opening day against St Helens, I think, 14,000. If you want to be there to support your team and you want to enjoy the fruits of Wembley, then you should be there in the semi-final backing them, shouldn't you? And I just can't get my head around that. Anyway, that's enough. But what we've got to do is really get behind them Really make it into a home game. The boys talk about how much they love playing at Craven Park. Craven Park on the road, isn't it? That's what we've got to do.
Yeah, it really is. And we saw that at the LNER last year when we played Catalan. Obviously, we got full ticket allocation because Catalan couldn't sell any, but we just made it home from home. And that's very much what we want this week. We want to make it home from home, really bring the noise and get behind the boys. And yeah, again, man, I can't wait. I genuinely am looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a bumper atmosphere. I think it's going to be noisy. And yeah, I think we're going to be very, very up for it. And it's going to tell us a lot about our side of 2026, how we play against Warrington on Sunday. We're going to find out a lot about Old Kingston Rovers, in my opinion.
Okay, so that brings us to question time.
There we go.
Okay, so we are going to kick off with our quick fire round. Now, I know you're looking forward to this, Bazza. We introduced it last week on the Robin Pod, 10 questions. I just need your quick answer. And now looking at them, Bazza, I think I've pretty much gone easy on you this time. So don't worry, there's no red herrings in there. I was
going to say the boys did well last week, didn't they?
They did. So it's quick fire, quick answers. Okay, are you ready?
Go.
Paul Fletcher or Mick Vella?
Paul Fletcher.
Dave Hodgson's try against that lot at Magic Weekend or Artem Og's try against Warrington in the playoffs?
Dave Hodgson's try.
Brian McDermott or Sean Wayne?
McDermott.
James Webster or Paul Cook?
Okay.
6 again or a penalty?
Penalty.
Rocket Ronnie or Ronnie Pickering?
Rocket Ronnie Pickering.
Brett Delaney or Ian Watson?
Brett Delaney.
Grand final win or a Challenge Cup final win?
Challenge Cup final win.
Dr. Jive or Jive Bunny?
Don't know either, so Jive Bunny.
Standing barefoot in the well for 80 minutes or standing in the well for 80 minutes with no top on?
Barefoot, mate. You don't want to see this.
There you go, Bazza. That's your 10. Well done, mate. You know, Dr. Jive.
Bad, innit?
There'll be people screaming at this now. If they're listening on the Robin Pod or watching it, they'll be on the comment section going, "Oh, you don't know Dr. Jive." I'll send you a picture. Don't worry. One of the greatest entertainers to ever grace the grass at Craven Park.
Right, sound. I honestly, I was expecting a Sean Kenny Dowler, Peterico question, to be honest.
I thought I'd go easy on you, Baz. Don't worry. There's plenty more of these to come on future episodes of the Robin Pod. But let's look at some of the questions that people have sent in on Facebook and on Instagram. Andy Rich, more of a statement than a question. He says, how good is it being Rovers fan at this moment in time? Things may change, ups and downs, but looking back in 30 years' time, listening to new Robin Pod that had just come out, what would the best memories be? Best memories, I think for me, I mentioned it before, that Challenge Cup final victory. And then a new one would be just experiencing Las Vegas, you know, an absolutely mind-blowing scenario that you never, ever dreamt would ever happen. So a couple there, but that Challenge Cup final victory, that's probably the one that really sets me off all the time. Yeah,
it was a special one. It was a day where it brought so many men to tears, myself included. That's up there for me. And another one what's up there, what a lot of people forget, was 2006 in Warrington when we beat Widnes to get ourselves to the big time. You know, if that day didn't happen, Old Kingston Rovers wouldn't have had the opportunity to play at Old Trafford, play in Las Vegas. And I think that really got the wheels in motion for Neil Udgell and Old Kingston Rovers that day. That bloody cold October night until 2006, mate. So that'll always stay with me forever. And seeing Scott Morrell celebrate, and I think I seen a podcast with Scott Morrell. It might have been Robin's Revisited Heritage thing, where he was pissed up on the statue outside King Billy the following day and stuff. So yeah, mate, that was one of my most memorables.
Yeah, Julie Rodman, I like your suggestion. She suggested about voting for favourite players, maybe doing one each week. So we'll look into that, Julie. Paula Richardson, she says, just like the pop charts, what's your favourite top 10 rugby chants or songs? Instead of listing top 10, what's your favourite? Bazza, mine's Celery.
Oh, I love the Tyrone May one.
Yeah, Tyrone May, of course. I mean, he's been rumoured now. It's flying around about him going to West Tigers. Of course, he's out of contract in 2027. His brother's been speaking about, once again, about linking up. And of course, Jerome Luai going to P&G Chiefs opens up that door and possibility, doesn't it? Especially with the May brothers at West Tigers being on long-term deals. So that's another one to watch this space. Michael Matthews, should Rovers go to Amsterdam again next year? And if so, should it be a Super League game? I won't mind a bit of that. That'd be all right, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think Michael Matthews just wants to get himself down on the red light district again or something, you know. Can't blame the lad and get a bit of wacky-backy, but no, I see what he says, mate. It's a good idea. Get a lot of the Dutch behind it. Wigan and Catalan are playing in Barcelona. I've heard rumours that OKR in 2027 potentially might be playing in Barcelona. What truth's in that?
That Wigan Catalan game's in Paris because it's to mark the centenary of Super League. So, I mean, the thing is, Bazza, the Robins are always forward thinking, aren't they? And I've got no doubt whatsoever there'll be something up their sleeve, which means that I've got to basically get an overdraft again to afford to be able to go somewhere. But why not? It's absolutely brilliant. Rob Parkinson, thanks for your comments. And Gary Lee, who was on the Robin Pod last week, we'll finish with your question. What's the one thing in rugby league you hate? He says, mine is teams celebrating every little win. Forward pass. Let's all celebrate like we've won the cup. And I get what he's saying with that one.
I get what he's saying. I think Gazley is referencing that lot across the river, but I don't think the boys should celebrate little wins. You know, keep the morale high, keep the intensity up. I'm
going to go now, Bazette. For me, do you know what? And it's a recent one. Is that new 6 again noise at the play? And I'm going to follow that up with. I liked. Do you remember at Catalan when they played the horn and it was unique to Catalan? Well, why am I listening to it? Warrington play it when they something happens. That's so they're my two. The new 6 again and the Catalan horn being played at different grounds. That's got no relevance to them.
I think mine is to do with the refs when they're not explaining a mitigation circumstance, like we saw Leeds Wakefield. It just said there was mitigation, but there was no explanation into
what the mitigation was.
Yeah, so that's really frustrating for me.
Yeah, Bazza, it's been an absolute pleasure. To all you Robins going to the game on Sunday, make sure you are loud and proud. And whether you're watching from close or afar, let's hope the Robins get to Wembley for another appearance because these boys definitely deserve an opportunity to play at Wembley in what would be Willie Peters' last chance to play coach a team at Wembley. So it's going to be another memorable occasion, no doubt. Don't forget, Budget Tyres is powered by... Don't forget the Robin Pod is powered by Budget Tyres Autocentre, the only car specialist trusted by players, club officials and supporters of Hull KR. And don't forget, if you're a season pass holder at Rovers, you can get discount at Budget Tyres. All you've got to do is present your card and they'll knock some money off whatever works you're having done. So it is well worth a visit to them on Leeds Road in Hull. Bazza, it's been an absolute privilege. But for now, live, love, laugh and be happy.
This is the Robin Pod. Robin Pod. This is the Robin Pod. Whoa. Throughout the years, whatever the game, the Red Army's passion is always the same. Decades pass, now we rise anew. Rovers fans, this pod is for you. We won the cup, we ruled the league. A grand final win made us all believe. The world took note with Chris Ben's fall. The Robins superb, now we won it all. Red Army, let's hear you sing with all your might. For your world champions in the red and white. We are champions of the world.